Inuarata no Sahai is still my amiable name. I'm always delighted to come your way every Wednesday since the last 16 and a half years to add premium value to your day. No matter what you do as a career person, as an entrepreneur, as an NGO practitioner, always here to make sure that I give you that point of differentiation that will give you the leading edge in your field. And last week, we started a conversation on different leadership style and their impact on workplace dynamics. As a leader, what makes you a great leader, what makes you an outstanding leader is your ability to read a scenario, to read a situation, and know the exact leadership style to apply. It is the same leadership style does not work in every situation. And last week when I started this conversation, we looked at the coercive leadership style, democratic leadership style, authoritative leadership style, affiliative leadership style, pace-setting leadership style, as well as coaching leadership style. Now, what makes you a great leader, what makes you an outstanding leader, is the ability to know that in this particular situation, this is the leadership style I need to apply to be able to achieve desired outcome. And having applied that leadership style, you should also know when to apply the brake pedal to know that it's time for me to, pause on this particular leadership style and be able to transition into another leadership style as the situation changes. That is why this morning we are going to use a case scenario, a practical case study, to see how a particular leader was able to apply the coercive leadership style to resolve a crisis situation, an emergency situation, and then the leader was also sensitive to know that it is time to transition from that coercive leadership style and then apply the democratic leadership style. The coercive leadership style is the command style of leadership that says, do as I say, do what I tell you. It works in emergency situation, crisis situation, and also when you want to quickly attend to matters of a discipline. The coercive leadership style, do as I say, the command leadership style, do what I tell you, is very effective. But when it is overused or used in the wrong situation, it also has its own negative side. It may lead to demotivation. People may feel that you are overbearing. People may also feel that, you are micromanaging them too much, and then they may get demotivated. And then we also have, the democratic leadership style that is all inclusive. It carries everybody along. It's open to, suggestions, to contributions, and then good decisions are arrived at. So this morning, the case scenario we are going to look at is transitioning from a coercive leadership style to democratic leadership style in the state waste management agency. That is a case scenario we are going to use this morning to see how a leader was able to apply the coercive leadership style to resolve a crisis. And that leader was also smart enough to know that it's time to apply the legs on the brake pedal on the coercive leadership style and transition into the democratic leadership style in order to achieve desired outcome consistently. So the topic is, the case scenario, the title is transition from coercive leadership style to democratic leadership style in a state waste management agency. I go into the case scenario. The state waste management agency in a Nigerian state was facing a major crisis. For over 2 weeks, heaps of refuse had accumulated across major roads, markets, hospitals, and residential areas in the state capital. Citizens were completely dealing on radio stations and social media. Health officials warned that the situation could trigger disease outbreaks. An internal investigation revealed that many waste collection trucks were not operating as scheduled. Some drivers and field supervisors were ignoring deployment instructions, while several contractors were failing to meet their obligations. Attendance records showed that many workers reported late or failed to report to duty altogether. The governor summoned the permanent secretary of the agency and demanded immediate action. Now, this is the phase one of the immediate action that was took to resolve the crisis, applying the coercive leadership style, which is a leadership style, like I told you at the beginning of this conversation, that is used to resolve crisis and handle emergency situation. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, the permanent secretary adopted the coercive leadership style. He convened an emergency management meeting and gave clear directives. Effective immediately, All personnel, all operation staff must report to their duty post by 6 a.m. daily. Any staff member absent without authorization will face disciplinary action. All waste collection contractors must deploy their full fleet within 24 hours or risk contract suspension. No excuses will be accepted. That is, the beginning of the application of the coercive leadership style, which says, do as I say, do what I tell you. It is often used to fix crisis and emergency situation. He also established a crisis monitoring team that provided hourly reports from different zones of the state. To demonstrate seriousness, the permanent secretary suspended 2 supervisors who repeatedly failed to monitor field operations, issued warning letters to defaulting contractors, ordered compulsory weekend operations until the backlog of waste was cleared, directed managers to remain in the field rather than work from their offices. The message was clear. Compliance was non-negotiable. Then, within 10 days, waste evacuation improved significantly. Major roads were cleared, markets became cleaner, and public complaints reduced sharply. That is applying the coercive leadership style, the command style of leadership, the do as I say leadership, do what I tell you leadership style to fix a crisis or an emergency situation like this waste management situation in this particular state, in this case scenario. Now, having fixed the situation, the permanent secretary did not just remain on that coercive leadership style. He now transitioned into democratic leadership style, which is phase 2, transitioning to democratic leadership style. After the emergency had been brought under control, the permanent secretary realized that continuing with a highly coercive approach could damage morale and reduce employee commitment. He therefore shifted to a democratic leadership style. Remember, democratic leadership style, as I've told you, is a leadership style that is all-inclusive, gives room for people to make contributions, make suggestions, and then good decisions are arrived at. He organized stakeholders meetings involving directors and department heads, waste collection supervisors, truck drivers, contractors, labor union representatives. At the meetings, he asked, now that we have stabilized operations, what changes can we make to prevent this situation from happening again? Now he has just moved into the democratic leadership style, asking for suggestions, asking for opinions, asking for views in order to keep the system motivated. Staff members openly shared their concerns. Some drivers complained about frequent truck breakdowns. Field officers reported inadequate communication equipment. Contractors requested clearer performance monitoring systems. Supervisors suggested introducing technology-based attendance and route tracking systems. The permanent secretary listened carefully and encouraged participation, the democratic leadership style. Several of the suggestions were adopted. Now, what became the outcome of the democratic leadership style, the result of the democratic leadership style? The agency subsequently introduced monthly stakeholder review meetings, established a staff suggestion scheme, implemented digital vehicle tracking, improved maintenance schedules for waste collection trucks, created clearer communication channels between management and field workers. As employees became involved in decision-making, democratic leadership style, ownership and commitment increased. That's one thing about democratic leadership style. It keeps the people better engaged, it makes them better committed, it makes them better motivated because they have become part of the, the process, they have become part of the journey. Productivity improved and industrial relations became more harmonious. What's the leadership lesson from this case scenario as I conclude? Remember, the case scenario is transitioning from coercive leadership style to democratic leadership style. Leadership lesson. This case demonstrates that effective leaders do not rely on a single leadership style. The permanent secretary understood that the emergency needed strong command and control during the crisis. He therefore used the coercive style to restore order and accountability. Once stability returned, very important, once stability returned, he intelligently transitioned to the democratic style, allowing employees and stakeholders to contribute ideas for long-term improvement. Very important. The result was not only a cleaner state, but also more motivated workforce and more suitable waste management system. Now, the key leadership principle here, use the coercive leadership style to control crisis or to control a crisis. then use the democratic style to build commitment and sustain progress. And that's exactly what the permanent secretary of this particular waste management agency in this Nigeria state employed. So as a leader, be able to know that this situation at this point in time require this pattern of leadership, and then having used that, it's time to also transition to another style of leadership. What you are going to do is that you are going to stay with me on this segment. Next week, Wednesday, I'm going to continue also bringing another case scenario on board to see how we can practically, glean lots of insight from this, leadership styles and their impact on workplace dynamics, and then become a better leader, build better teams, build better workplace for our nation and our continent and the world as a whole. I'll be continuing from next week, Wednesday, like I said. So what you will do, send your email across, send your inquiries, send your questions. When I return next week, Wednesday, my name will not change. It will still be the amiable Inuagata No Sahai. Your day is so blessed. Thank you.